I do not deal in waste at all, and I haven't done for many years. I deal in raw material supply. I work for Viridor Waste Management Limited as their Director of Recycling Development. The last 4 years of my experience have been working at a site in East London called Crayford, where we've developed a materials recovery facility for the processing of dry recyclables, principally from households. Well, a bag of recycling has been collected by the collection contractor operating for your local authority. That material then generally gets delivered in a bulk vehicle called a walking floor. That material then gets inspected to ensure that it meets our quality specification for our input material. Once that quality assurance has been done, the material gets loaded very simply into the plant, where 95% of the sorting is done mechanically through a number of different mechanisms that the simplest way of describing is that it sieves the material so that it separates the paper grades from the plastic and can grades. Anything missed by the mechanical sorting is extracted and put back where it belongs in the mechanism to deliver good quality materials. Our biggest problem is quality, and one of our major concerns is food contamination, and that's an absolute no-no in what we do. But we've also got another very serious problem, and that's contamination with textiles, because there's no market anywhere will buy them. Once they've been put into a commingled collection where there might be baked beans in there, and then there's going to be glass shards in there, the route for textiles has to be through the charity shop networks, where they get reused and they keep their value. All of the bays with these separated materials are controlled by computer, and once the bay is full, the door automatically triggers, and whichever the grade is then goes into the baler, which is dedicated to these grades, to make a bale of HDPE, or a bale of mixed plastics, or a bale of mixed plastic sacks. It's a universal for those particular grades. So we sell into Europe and we sell into the Far East, wherever there's a demand for fibre basically. The plastics can go into Germany and go into the Far East. The same aluminium cans usually stay in the UK and go to Warrington via another processor. The steel cans can go into EMR in southern Britain, or then they can be exported out to Holland, where there's again a huge demand for metal, because of course there's a shortage globally now in most resources. The thing that makes me happiest about my job is knowing that at the end of a year we've actually diverted 500,000 tonnes, or 500,000 tonnes, away from landfills in the southeast of Britain, and we put that into higher value use into manufacturing. And that's, I think, quite an amazing achievement in a new emerging industry that's learning every day of the week about how best to deal with a complicated material, a very unhomogeneous, complex input material. One thing that has happened in the last 5 years, after a lot of trial and testing, is that we've moved into a very sophisticated manufacturing environment. This is no longer, or cannot be considered to be, a process dealing with waste. This is actually a manufacturing process governed by highly sophisticated equipment, computer programs and quality assurance systems. Raw material supply and world scarcity of materials is driving up the value of materials, so those materials are now starting to pay their own way and actually operating as a true economic mechanism as opposed to an artificially driven one. Certain resources on the planet, like copper, have now been given a finite date by which it will no longer be viable to mine them out of the ground, economically or otherwise. That's quite a scary thought when you think how much we as a modern society depend on copper for all our electronic requirements. And the value of copper now, it must be getting to the point where it will be economically viable to start to mine out landfills. Inevitably, it will be the cheapest form of ensuring your supply chain for vital raw materials. putting leaflets out to the public saying, this is what you can and can't do with your waste. You know, we must stop calling it rubbish. We must tell people that they're resources and that they are actually the primary people who are in control of recovering them. And that is a fundamental mind shift that has to be made by the UK and everybody else. We are looking at fundamental shifts in the way that we think and we care about our environment and our resources. And it's only in the last 30 years, perhaps, maybe 50, that the UK's lost sight of that value and become a disposable age. But in reality, when you are short of scarce resources, it is starting to refocus our minds.